Hello, traders. It's 8:01 a.m. Chicago time on Wednesday, the 20th of November, 2019. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, again, this is episode 1643. This morning, clearly risk off across the board. The leader today is a little bounce by crude after hitting the target down at 55.16 or so, trading at 55.84. Crude is up 50 cents or 0.9%. The DAX is the laggard this morning, off 0.67%, 89 points, followed by the Euro stocks, the Russell, NASDAQ, Dow, S&P. The bonds are up 28 ticks, almost a full handle, up 0.55% from yesterday's close on the futures, settlement on the futures. So that's where we stand. Yesterday's action was very, very telling. Those of you who are a part of Convergent and did not attend the Tuesday trade talk, I suggest you take a look at that recording that was sent to you last night. We do discuss a couple setups and entries and things like that. You might want to check that out. We'll go over the details here in a bit. Overall, the market sentiment, again, the market looks like it's allocating to safety. What is going on here? And the overall theme is the market's, of course, paying attention to this impeachment hearing, but risk aversion continues on. Renewed U.S.-China trade tensions. Frankly, we could say that that's the reason, but there were indications from the market that buying was a little bit stretched. I talked about that yesterday a little bit, that we are really stretching a little bit on the buy side. President Trump threatened to raise tariffs on Chinese goods if the two countries fail to reach a trade deal. This came out. When did that come out? That came out. I don't remember when that came out. I don't see it on my feed here. It goes a while back. But that's what's on deck. Also, there were some releases from the Chinese government paper. China Global Times editor-in-chief Hu Xijin. This editor is often releasing remarks which are expected to be reflective of the stance of the Chinese government. Few Chinese believe that China and the U.S. can reach a deal soon. Given current poor China policy of the U.S., people tend to believe the significance of a trade deal for each will be limited. China wants a deal but is prepared for the worst-case scenario, a prolonged trade war. That came out at about 1:53 Central. At night, last night, my time. Remember that there's still earnings coming out. We had Target this morning, which beat $1.36 versus $1.18, and revenue came in better at $18.7 billion versus $18.5. There's still bombs being thrown into the trading day from this trade war tariff nonsense. So this is something we just need to kind of be aware of. Make sure you have your stops in place while you're trading, because oftentimes it just comes out of nowhere and just swipes the market and goes back to where it is. And it doesn't mean, just because it often returns to the scene of the crime, doesn't mean that we should take excessive risk while waiting for it to do so. Just be smart, please. So that's where we stand. Let's take a look at what we expected yesterday in our review segment. The primary scenario, we were opening in a gap. The expectation is that given how things have been flowing and the break from balance down below 3,100, the expectation is further exploration, but likely to stall out and go sideways. So the primary scenario is a pullback into the gap, push above the overnight high, gets stuck at 35 and holds steady basically where it opened. Secondary push the overnight high and then move towards the point of control, which is a stock zone, also 31.1975. And then the third scenario is open test drive up, and the expectation is 41.50. None of those happened. Scenario two maybe, but it ended up pushing a lot further. So scenario two we did not push at all to the upside. We opened in what looked like an open auction, but it proceeded to push lower. Now, given the scenarios that we outlined, the goal at this point, at this juncture here, a test of the prior day's high at 23.50, a stock zone there, value high, and the value area high right here, and the prior close in the area. This sets up a long for me, and the idea is that we're looking for it to stall out, rotate back up, and then break through the mid VWAP, get back into the opening swing, which was at 31.26, the opening swing low, consolidate, and then push through for scenario one. That's what I was looking for. However, the long did not survive, but the risk reward on it was 4 or 5 to 1, so it was well worth taking. At the end of the day, we've got to pay up our stop to play on every trade. We want to get in as many trades as possible. Market continued lower. It just was obvious from the order flow that buyers just could not get it off the ground. And so we moved back into the point of control, which was 31.1975. And what do? We go sideways. That was what was expected on scenario two. Here's scenario two. Come back and go sideways right there. Right? So that is really pretty much in line with what was expected for scenario two, but scenario two didn't give us a chance to get on by testing the overnight high, which was at about 31.50 yesterday. Just not much to play off of on the open, unfortunately, for a run down 31.19. Wouldn't it have been nice to get in at 30 and run that down to about 19 with a large scale out at 23.50.24? But the market was not handing that out. Consolidated at the point of control and then broke right through to test 12.75. The prior low is 11. 11 comes from the day before that, which had a value low, LVN, an IB, and a bunch of stuff at 11. And we got a nice little bounce at 11 on Monday. From here, we get news, big bounce. But here's what's important. So remember, 23, this area here. Let's see if I can draw a decent enough square that it can actually make it into a decent enough There we go. So note that it's not able to hold above 31.2350. It cannot hold above there. So on this test, we could see on the way up that there's some relatively aggressive buying, but it's not able to finish strong. As soon as the buyers back off, the sellers just come in and boom, 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 hit the ladder down and an aggressive sell into it to bring us back. So in this situation, I would normally look for the impulse pullback mid-long, which would be right here for a test of 31.25. But there's a major boulder here, a major characteristic or structure that is not able to be sustained by the buyers, and it comes right back up, tests, consolidates, and then it just goes sideways from there with a close that is again somewhat sold. The other important feature of yesterday, as we close the day, look at the point of control for Monday. Look at the point of control for yesterday. The point of control for yesterday is in line with Monday's point of control. The market is not able to find higher values. It is stalling out. This is the first time we've stalled out over the last week. The market participation in terms of volume by price is telling us that the buyers are not interested, not truly interested in higher prices and are not shifting prices upwards. And what do we get? We get the mid, VWAP, all on top of the point of control. So we end up with what is a very, very balanced day. And then on the reopen, we just don't have it in us to attempt to even test that 23 again. Instead, the overnight high is 31.19, which is the prior day's point of control, basically, and then we shift down from there and start moving towards 3100. It is just seeing a lot of overhead. Here in the 15-minute chart, we can see it a little more cleanly. There's the line in the sand right there. Oops. There's the line in the sand right there. And I wanted a line. Let's see if we can get one. There's the line in the sand right there. This is a key resistance for the session. And it falls below, tests above, pokes above, unable, tests again, unable, and starts to move lower. And what we have here is a bit of an M formation, and the market is seeking lower prices, and I expect it to do so again. The other price to make note of right here is this area around 31.16. Like, oh my God, I slanted that line. It's so hard to draw straight. Yes, this line. So here's the overnight high. Here's where we are. Here's the point of control, and here's the overnight low. And I'm expecting to see a really nice resistance setup here if we push up. I mean, by the grace of God, if this thing gives us an opportunity to actually get in with a good risk-reward ratio on the open, generally it doesn't offer anything up for the first 15, 20 minutes, and generally I'm not trading in that time period because I'm not going to go in and sell on the open or buy on the open. But this area here, as you can see outlined, is really a decent area. So there's a lot of price action based stuff going on here. The 31.11 right here, and then beneath there, the 31.0302 area. Right, I slanted it. There, beautiful. These are your key areas. Boom, boom. Boom. Key areas to watch. And of course, as I drew earlier, this 31.23. Key areas to watch. Okay. That's it. My job is done. Game over. The next area down, if we break lower and start moving into this gap zone right here, the next area down is what? 30.97. Look at the 30.97. There, and continues across. I made it slanted. Anyway, it's this area right here. That's the next key target. That will be our extended target, not extended, but intermediate term target on the short is 30.97. Once we break through 3100, we expect some turbulence at 3100. And then from there, we start looking at the balance beneath us and the MC point of control, which is at 30.91 and a half. 30.91 and a half. Wouldn't that be sweet? 31.19, the 31.19, 31.16 area short into 30.91 and a half. That would be kind of awesome, right? So that's what we're looking at. Let's take a peek beneath us. If I extend this profile in the balance zone forward, you'll see where I get that 30.9150. There's the 30.9150. This will be the big magnet in the area, the high volume node in the area, and that would be the next natural area for the market to rest. This price has a lot of accepted prices. This is the auction. This is how auctions work. This is how volume profiling works, and I believe it is, well, I can't say that. I believe, well, for me, it is the best and most real-time way of organizing the market information. There are many ways to organize the market. You could draw ribbons, you can draw pitchforks, you can do all types of things, and they're all great. And if you don't use them correctly, they don't work. But to me, this is just looking at the auction and what it's like, what it's trying to do, and paying attention to how it auctioned at each price, which the volume profile provides. And it tells us where prices are being accepted or not. It tells us what the mood is, the underlying mood is, which we cannot see in a bar chart or on a moving average or whatever. You might see it in a VWAP or Alpha Trends anchored VWAP or something like that. But in real time, you get to see it as it happens. Price is king, but volume is what makes price valid or not valid, right? So that's that. I want to switch gears real quick. ft71.com/MCL, all caps. ft71.com/MCL, all caps. If you have not signed this petition, why not? Get it done. I want to be able to present this before the year's up. I'd like to see micro crude released sometime in the in Q1, or I don't know how fast the exchange can do it, or if this will even get them moving. But I'm collecting signatures. We're up to about 1,500 signatures. We could easily be over 4,000 signatures to show that this product is needed. Crude oil is one of the top most speculated or most traded products by online traders. If you're an online trader, you should be a part of this. Make your voice known. Let's switch gears to ctbookmap.pro and look at what it's done overnight. Look at the overnight. It reopened here. This is 5 o'clock Chicago time. 5 o'clock Chicago time. And then we reopen and look at what it does. It just isn't able to get above the 16, which carries over from yesterday. Remember, I drew it on the RTH session, and we could see that the overnight, it's just having a really hard time with the 16 area, and we keep exploring lower. We had a little bit of liquidity at 105, and that got taken for a bounce and a retest here. And this was the news that I talked to you about, the China Global News, the comments by Hu Jiajin, about the fact that China is kind of giving up on the potential for a deal with Trump, with POTUS. It's holding below yesterday's low of the day currently, and we could see that overall the liquidity is right where we expected. We expect liquidity at 119. We expect liquidity in the 16-15 region. We expect liquidity at 97. So let's take a peek down there on full depth. We expect liquidity to come in here at 97. We expect liquidity at 150. So as the day opens, I'm going to keep an eye on the heat map and see how the market loads up. Okay, that's where we are. Now, let's take a look at what's expected for today so we can all move on. I keep having these really long trader bites. I apologize for that. There's just a lot to cover, and we're getting a pretty decent auction currently. Again, before you leave, please, ft71.com/capital MCL. Please sign the petition. Doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to donate. You don't have to pay. Even if it asks you to, just sign. Here's where we are. The normal auction process is that we are likely, now that we've reverted back on itself, we have an MC here. Okay, we have a microcomposite. Oh, lo and behold, the microcomposite point of control is at 31.19. The natural action today is an open auction just out of range or just in range that reverts back, and I expect it to get tangled in the 16s here and give up for a push down to the overnight point of control, and then for it to start to give in, retest, and then push lower. And that brings us into the gap zone here, and makes us puts us on our way to 3,100, right? That's quite a bit of range for one day. However, if it accelerates, 97 and 91.50 become the next key targets below, as mentioned a few minutes ago. What I shared with you in the prior chart as I was going through the levels one by one, please take a moment and just listen to that again. It's really important to understand how the auction operates, and that's really what draws these scenarios. Do you need scenarios to trade? No, you don't. But it does help keep things in perspective. The secondary, we open, we're unable, we push into the overnight point of control, and we make a run for the 3104.50 for the overnight stat and start moving towards 3,100 before we get a bounce and close somewhere in the lower end of the range. That will be scenario 2. I forgot to write scenario 1, although they are marked with the same color every day. This would be scenario 1. Okay. And then the buying scenario, which is very, very possible. Remember, in this environment, the market just keeps buying up and buying up and buying up. The buying scenario is a test down to the overnight point of control, impulse up into the 16, push into 19, and then we have a short squeeze with resistance at the 23 to 25 area before it blows through and holds steady on the close. It is very, very possible that we get buying on a test. If we get a drive, if we get a nice impulse up, back off of the shorts, you want to use these levels up top as targets. The market is likely to move back into the upper balance. And remember, we're only a few points away from the all-time highs. Be careful. So that's what I've got for you. Hopefully you're picking up something every day. That's the goal here. We want to get something for our time. Again, please don't forget to sign a petition. ft71.com/MCL all caps. Thank you.